Alright guys, what's going on? It's Beefy Boy, top 10 Ret Paladin North America right now, and we're here to make a Ret Paladin guide. I know a lot of people have been asking, and personally I don't see a lot of content on YouTube about it, especially if you're trying to, maybe increase your rating or just learn how to play the class. We love Ret Paladin here. We've been playing it for a long time, but it isn't until in this expansion, this season, that we're really serious about the gameplay, and we want to take our gameplay to another level. So we've decided to make our own guide. So first of all, we're going to get into talents, builds, and stat priority. Okay, so the talent we'll be running is we're going to be playing Templar Ret Paladin. Currently it is the most fun I've had on Ret Paladin. You have humongous damage, burst, and you have constant sustain damage, right? For this build specifically, it will be used for every single Mythic Plus dungeon. The only thing that we're going to be cutting out of it would be Blessing of Protection. We'll drop that, and we'll put Unbound Freedom. The reason being is, not all dungeons you need to use BOP. You don't need to use Blessing of Protection in all dungeons. But there are dungeons where you do need to be able to freedom a teammate and yourself, or give that extra move speed to a player to avoid an ability. Okay, so for this, it's going to be the exact same build, and I'll have the link to my build in the description. For stat priority, it's going to be primary stat, strength, into mastery, critical strike, haste, and then versatility. With Templar, you want to do more crit than haste, compared to like Herald of the Sun. And the reason being is because our abilities scale off of it. Our Hammer of Light, our big spenders, they actually scale off of Critical Strike. So that's what sets it apart from the other builds. Okay, so we'll get right into it. Let's go into the rotation. So a basic rotation for us is going to look something like this. Judgment, Blade of Justice, Executioner Sentence, Trinket and Pot, into Wake of Ashes, Hammer of Light, Divine Toll, into Divine Storm, and then we're going to constantly be spending and stacking our Divine Storms. We're going to be stacking our Holy Power Builders, and then spending our Holy Power Spenders. Okay? And then we're going to be constantly building this up and spending, constantly building this up and spending. Okay? That is our basic rotation. Now if we go over here to single target, it's the exact same rotation, and this is the best part about it. The best part about Ret Paladin is the only difference between 2 target plus cleave and single target is you change out Divine Storm for Final Verdict. So it's the same exact thing. Judgment, Blade of Justice, Executioner Sentence, Wake of Ashes, Hammer of Light, into Hammer of Wrath, and then you start building back up, and then you spend on Final Verdict. Divine Toll, Final Verdict. Hammer of Wrath, Blade of Justice, Final Verdict. Everything that lights up is pretty much a good go-ahead to press it, right? This lighted up Divine Storm is a free, that means it's free, so we're going to use that, right? That's a priority in a multi-target. And then obviously, Final Verdict. Build, Final Verdict. So that's the only difference. The only difference in, like I said, from single target to multi-target is you're using Divine Storm instead of Final Verdict. Okay? So, real quick, forgot to go over gear in the beginning. So, gear we're looking at is really up to you, right? We just want to have priority gear. We want to use our tier set. We want to have 4-piece, of course. And then we want to have Sackbrood as our trinket and Mark of Kardros. These are our 2 trinkets we want to have. For crafted pieces, people are now running the double crit lining. That just boosts our crit a lot. I've also seen the Ascendance enchant on your weapon if you don't already have a pretty good weapon. That's fine. And then the second embellished piece would be improves the Nerubian enchantment piece. So just to improve your Ascendance. Okay, so after we have our rotation down, I want to get into how to maximize your damage as a Ret Paladin. right? So as long as you have the basic rotation down, now what we can do is we can start micromanaging our passives to increase our maximum damage. Okay? And the way we do that is we're going to go into our talents. We're going to look over here of Dusk and Dawn talent. We have 2 passives that coincide with each other. And I'll read that off. When you cast 3 holy power generating abilities, you gain Blessing of Dawn. When you consume Blessing of Dawn, you gain Blessing of Dusk. So they kind of work with each other, right? So Blessing of Dawn first is your next holy power spender. Your next holy power spending ability deals 20% additional damage and is increased damage and healing, and this effect stacks. And then the inverse of that, Blessing of Dusk, damage taken reduced by 4%, and your holy power generating abilities also grant an absorb shield for 10% of the damage and healing dealt for 10 seconds. And then if we have this talent right here, Seal of Order, it just makes both of those even better, right? Blessing of Dawn increases the damage and healing of your next holy power spending ability by an additional 10%. So this now makes it 30% increased damage on your holy power spenders. And Blessing of Dusk is, once you spend that holy power spender, Blessing of Dusk increases your armor by 10% and your holy power generating abilities cool down 10% faster. Meaning you'll be tankier, you'll be able to survive more, especially if you're maintaining that Blessing of Dusk, right? And then you'll have like almost a mini lust, right? Because your cooldowns will be coming back 10% faster. So that means your haste, right? You don't really have to worry about haste as much. And that's what makes Templar so good, is you can maximize your secondary stat potential. Something else I want to get into is this passive. So you see right here, I am tracking this ability. It's called Light's Deliverance, right? And once I hit 50 stacks, I can get a free Hammer of Light. So in order to do that, what I like to do is I like to actually, I don't like to use very many add-ons, but this add-on is extremely useful. You can play Ret Paladin with 0 add-ons and have a great time. But this one is called Tell Me When. And it's going to pop up this bar. Usually it like starts in the middle of your screen, like this. And you're like, oh, what do I do with this? All you got to do is you just got to drag it to wherever you like. Some people like right here, above the bar. I personally like mine down here because I'm looking at my abilities. So I can constantly see where I'm at with that. We're going to right click on this first bar. And you're probably going to be met with a screen something like this. A completely blank screen, and you're like, I have no clue what to do. That's fine. We're going to go to Icon Type, the dropdown, and we're looking to track our Blessing of Dawn and our Blessing of Dusk. So we're going to go to Buffs and Debuffs. This will be blank, so it'll look like this. So we're going to go What to Track. We're looking for Blessing of Dusk. We're going to select this. We're going to select the buff, and then we're going to press OK. And then we're going to go over here, do the same thing for Blessing of Dawn, press OK, and then the same thing for Light's Deliverance, press OK, and then by the time that's done, we're going to come over here, we're going to build up, and look, it shows right there. And now we don't have to worry about it. Now we can know, okay, instead of us having to look at the top of our screen over here, okay, Blessing of Dawn is rolling, it's right here. Now, the way we maximize our damage is we're going to, before we spend a big ability, like a big spender, like Hammer of Light especially, we want to stack that up to at least twice, okay? We don't want to ever use it without having that Blessing of Dawn rolling. And the reason is because we're missing out on about 60% bonus damage or so from our big spender, right? Now, if we're having like we're having a lot of good Divine Storm procs and they're going out. That's fine, but we want to make sure that we weave some of our builders inside that combo so that we get those Blessing of Dawn procs. Once our Blessing of Dawn is taken, Blessing of Dusk will activate, right? And then we'll get an even bigger cooldown reduction on our abilities. Okay? So I'm gonna go through that one more time. And we're going to go over what a rotation is going to look like, okay? A full rotation. So we're going to go. Now you know what these abilities do. So we're going in, and we're going to Judgment, Blade of Justice, Executioner's Sentence, Pot, Trinket, Wake of Ashes. We're going to spend to build another stack. We're going to use our Hammer of Wrath. We're going to build again. We're up at 2 stacks again. Hammer of Wrath. Or, Hammer of Light. And then into Divine Storms. While we're weaving in those, you know, builders. And you see we're at 5 stacks. It's okay if we overcap Holy Power. Because we're getting way more damage out of overcapping than we would if we just were to spend at 3 Holy Power. And look at that. By the time we get a full rotation... out, I already have Executioner Sentence and Wake of Ashes back up. So we go right back into it. Same rotation. We build it up, and we have our Blessing of Dusk rolling the whole time. Blessing of Dawn, spend. Now we have our Blessing of Dusk. Build it up, Blessing of Dawn. Build it up, Blessing of Dawn. And now we got a free hammer. Now we're going to build it up. And sometimes you're starved. Like, let's say right now, you're out of abilities, but you only have 1 stack. You can use it at 1 stack, but you want to try to use it as many stacks as you can. You want to try to make it as much damage output as you can, and just keep practicing the rotation, right? Judgment, Blade of Justice, Divine Storm, Blade of Justice, Hammer of Wrath, Judgment, Blade of Justice. Okay, now I have 2. Spend, Divine Storm. Oh, I had a free proc. I'm gonna Divine Storm again, and Divine Storm again, and Divine Storm again. The reason being is because I had so many free Divine Storms, it's just faster. Boom, 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 boom. That will maximize our damage, right? But if we're ever spending like a big thing, like Hammer of Light right here, Executioner Sentence, Trinket, big spender, boom. Tons of damage. And look how much damage we're doing. Guys, like look at that damage. We hit almost a 5 million damage Hammer of Light crit. 5 million damage. And that hits up to 4 targets nearby with Templar. Look at that. Strikes 3 nearby enemies, including the target that you hit. I'm sorry, 4. Yeah, 4 nearby enemies, including the target that you hit. You know how much damage that is? Right? Especially if you maximize it. It is a phenomenal amount of damage. And it really is good in single target as well. You know, having a big crit like that in single target is going to make your single target very viable too. You'll be able to hang out with the people that are doing really good single target damage. And that's why Ret Paladin is, I feel like, pretty underutilized this expansion. People are running Frost Death Knight and Enhancement Shaman and Mage, but in reality, Ret Paladin has more sustained damage than almost all of those classes. The only difference is we don't have as high burst or maybe as high single target. But overall, we would usually do about more damage overall in a dungeon, depending on, you know, how that dungeon goes, than most classes in the game currently. And I think that puts us really high above most classes. And on top of that, it's a bonus because you really only are pressing 3 or 4 buttons in your rotation, and then you're pressing your cooldowns. So at max, you're really only pressing 6 buttons for your damage. That's a lot better. Like, Rogue, for example, is, you know, 10 to 15 in their rotation, plus their cooldowns. So I think that's why we should, or I think that's why you should try it. Try it. Try it out. And if you don't like it, you say, you know, maybe I hate having to manage my stacks. That's fine. No one said you had to manage them, right? But to maximize your damage, yeah, it's probably a helpful thing. So, if you guys have any questions or comments or suggestions, please leave them in the comments section. I'm brand new to this. We're going to be posting a lot of videos. We stream on Twitch every day. Please come catch a stream. We do viewer raids. We do viewer keys. We are pushing keys, you know, 13s, high keys. So if you guys are interested in that content, I'll leave all my links in the description. Thank you so much.